These are the rants of a fat, old, grumpy man with a balding head. I am he. Oh, my life is changing, and I'm looking at the entire world and the United States and Ohio, everything. And I'm a little bit discouraged about everything politically right now as I say, as a fat, balding, grumpy old man. Um, we you got to kind of ride the wave of the zeitgeist. You have to just take it as it comes to a large degree. But there's a lot of what's happening and what's going to happen is up to you as far as that goes. It's up to you what the future is going to do. It's up to you what humanity will be and what this government in this country will be. People are making it up to everybody else. Now, let me just, first thought that comes to mind is what we're going through right now at this moment in time. And of course, this moment in time is only a short time, but one thing that happened recently, just a market, is the ex-president of the United States was recently convicted in a state court in New York of 34 felonies. And, as he is the ex-president of the United States, it's automatically a political thing. And how can you even put a political character that was that high in the political world up on a trial without calling it political? And of course, I suppose there was some political aspect to it. Then the other way you got to think about it is, so all you got to do is get elected into a public office, and then if you're high enough up, you don't have to worry about ever getting convicted of any crimes afterwards. I mean, is that how it works in the United States? It's not supposed to work that way in the United States. It's supposed to be that everybody is under the law equal. If you commit a crime, it doesn't matter if you're the president or if you're just some guy living in the street. You have to be judged right there. Well, of course, judged equally under the law. And I know that doesn't happen. But when it does happen, when somebody there is a law and somebody violated it, regardless of who they were, they get judged under the law. And that kind of makes you feel good about the United States, but there's a whole pile of people who think, well, it was obviously a political prosecution. Well, and maybe it was political to some extent, but he was convicted, so he did commit the crime. I mean, but maybe they wouldn't have, that crime in particular may not have been brought had he not had political enemies. I mean, I don't know. What is happening right now in this country, which irritates me a bit, is that nobody thinks anybody else is honest in this country. I mean, or else, one thing they always say, and I had this conversation with a woman not too long ago, and she's a very nice woman, a very sweet woman, and she said, oh, they're all crooked, she said. All those politicians are crooked. That's her position, right? Well, now that's what I want to analyze. Is all the courts crooked? Is all the government crooked, like what Donald Trump calls deep state? Everybody that's in the bureaucracy, are they all thieves and part of a conspiracy to oppress the people? The people who are running the Social Security Agency, the people who are running the police departments, the FBI they're going after. There's a loss of faith of all these institutions in the United States right now. And, it's not like I'm the world's leading authority on these things. You see, I do my job, and I have my life, and I had my experiences. And if you ever saw my one video, it's called The World of Slop. What I say in that video is that, yeah, there's every single institution or government or corporation or religion or family, there's a certain element within all of them that is slightly corrupt, slightly crooked. And with all people, it's kind of a gradated scale of goodness and badness, and honesty and dishonesty. That's my whole point. Yeah, it's not like just the government is crooked and just the police departments are crooked. Your people within their own family are ripping each other off. There's some people who are just crooked and some people who are honest. And I do this job where I constantly am dealing with whether or not people are honest or not, or whether I should trust them or not. And I make judgments like this all the time. And it's not just being crooked that's the problem. It's also being incompetent. So let's say somebody's a thief. They're a thief. That comes in degrees too, being a thief. You have someone who has children in the home that are starving, and you might go into the store and try to get some rice and some beans for your children, or some cereal or something, milk, and you don't have money to pay for it. Then you go into the store and you steal it. And should you carry that? Should you say that person is as crooked as a person who just goes and steals a big screen TV out the back door because they can, although they already have a big screen TV, or they're supporting their drug habit or something? I mean, no, everything is on a gradated scale. There's levels of crookedness. The problem I'm seeing right now in the country and in the world, maybe, I don't know, is that everybody else thinks everybody else is a crook. And it's because there are a lot of crooks, and it's hard to make a judgment. And one of the things here's the modern technology really makes you think this way with the internet. What is the truth? It's hard to tell the truth anymore. You see these things on the internet. They say, what's an example? The flat earthers, they're hilarious. Or they have a picture of somebody doing something that is generated by artificial intelligence, videos. You can make anything nowadays that's fake. Then and its computer will do it automatically, and then they put it onto the internet, or they make false claims, like Hillary Clinton was running a prostitute, child smuggling ring out of a pizza joint in Queens or something, or wherever that was, and a certain percentage of people will believe that kind of stuff because they want to believe that kind of stuff, but what do I know? What do you know? You're living 1,000 miles away from there, and you just see it on the screen on the TV or on the internet, and it might be true, and it might not be true. So you gotta think objectively, and what automatically comes out now in politics is that they've gone to the extremes when they're in these elections. They say the worst possible things that you can possibly say about your opponent. It's hyperbole. Hyperbole runs the day. So you have I don't know. We could say that Joe Biden. I hear people say Joe Biden molests little children. They say. Now, who would know? I mean, they have a picture of him putting his arm around a little girl. See, look, he's molesting that little girl. Or they have they say about Donald Trump is a murderer or something. Well, there's no proof of that. But I don't think anybody says that. But what I'm saying is, everybody thinks that everybody else is crooked, especially in politics. So how can we run the country? How can we have a civilized organized country and a society if nobody trusts anybody else. That's kind of a problem that we're having right now, in my opinion. There, and it's being exasperated by this internet, these internet sites that they deal in hyperbole. Nobody is just like when they say. I have a conversation with somebody who said Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States. They tell me, all right, the worst president in the history of the United States. I mean, he's worse than Franklin Pierce or Warren G. Harding or something. He's decent. He's not great, but he's decent. And what's more, when I was in school anyway, they told me in my government class that the political scientists don't feel that it's right to judge a president within 20 years of his administration. In other words, you have to let 20 years pass before you can make an objective judgment about the policies and what it enacted and how it worked out. You can't say right within his administration or even a year after whether or not his everything he worked on was positive or negative, because you got to look at the long-term implications. That's what they used to teach us, and I say that should go that way still. But I personally, and I think I've said these in other videos that I've done, I personally feel that Democrats are my party. I'm a Democrat, the Democratic Party, not the Democrat Party, which is what the Republicans refer to them, but the Democratic Party is what I follow mostly, because as I have looked, I looked it up in the congressional record. You can get it through the Library of Congress. They have a congressional record of every bill that was voted on. Some were failed, some passed, and all the speeches that occurred in Congress with relation to those bills. It's all in the congressional record. It's public information that you can look up. And in every single case that has helped working people, the Democrats have voted for it, and the Republicans have voted against it. Whether you're talking about minimum wage, which seems like a common sense thing. People should be paid a minimum amount if they're working. And the majority of Republicans voted against it. What's another one? Workman's compensation, which if you're injured on the job, then you have some kind of health care that you can get as a result of being injured on the job. Republicans voted against it. Unemployment compensation, when it was created and even continually along the time, the Democrats vote for it, the Republicans vote against it. So if you're laid off of work and you don't have any way to pay your mortgage, you get this bill, you get this check in the mail after being laid off that helps you pay for your mortgage, your rent, and your family's food. And Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the SNAP payments, aid to dependent children or women and infant children. These are all things that help the poor and the working class, and they were all voted against by the Republicans and for by the Democrats. So that's my position, is that what side of this line are you on? I know you don't like paying taxes, but at the same time, you may be falling into some sort of a difficulty. And I can even speak for myself. When I was working, and I was working full-time, more than 50 hours a week at the time, and I had a heart attack. Well, this stupid job that I had didn't supply me with any health care benefits, so I was afraid to go to the doctor because I didn't have money to pay for it. I was afraid, I won't be able to pay my mortgage, and I won't be able to pay for my kids' food, but I had a heart attack. So I waited like 9 days, and then going to bed at the 8th day, I said, well, if I wake up alive, I'll go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor the next day, and they said, yeah, you're having a heart attack. and they wouldn't let me drive. They rushed me to the hospital and they gave me this angiogram, and they rotor-rooted out my arteries, and I was better. And then the bill came in the mail, and it was over $100,000, which is ridiculous, I suppose, in a way. Well, all right. So how do I pay for $100,000 out of my pocket now? Well, what do you know? The government stepped in and said, "Well, you're eligible for Medicaid," and they paid my bill. So I still live in my house, and I'm still able to survive because the government. But now these people all say, "Oh, the government's all crooked. It's useless." I don't know, but when you need it, you need it. That's all there is to it. So I'm always going to be a Democrat.